Hi, my name is Mark LeBlanc, and I live in downtown Minneapolis and honored to be the co-author of Rainmaker Confidential with my co-presenter this afternoon, Henry DeVries. And missing in action today is Scott Love. He's done so well with our new book that he's booked today, and the rest of us are not. And so we get a chance to hang out and share some ideas and information that will help you become as successful as you are capable of becoming. So let's jump right in. I'm going to bring the co-author and my business partner, Henry DeVries, into the fold. Henry and I started a company called Indie Books International about 8 years ago. We're about to celebrate our 8th, our 9th anniversary, doesn't really matter. And our purpose in life is to help people understand what can happen when you write the right book. And our latest book, Rainmaker Confidential, is a winner, whether you currently have it or it's yet to be ordered. And we hope that you will after you hear some of the pieces that we are going to share with you today. But Henry DeVries is my brother from a different mother, and he has he's worked with over 300 and some authors and book projects, anywhere from ghostwriting to strategist to developmental editor to just book Sherpa and book coach. I happen to be the poster child for what can happen when you write the right book. My first book 21 years ago was titled Growing Your Business. And I'm going to talk about some Rainmaker principles on how you can grow your business. But for my money, you are in good hands with Henry DeVries. He knows more about this process and is interviewed, and our interviews with Rainmakers over the last 22 months has been nothing short of astounding. So make sure you have something to write with and something to write on. Fasten your seatbelts, get ready, and Henry, will you take it away from here?
Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity for Mark and I to share our latest book, Rainmaker Confidential, The Secrets of Top Rainmakers Who Can Make It Rain. Let's go back to a scary time. It's Friday the 13th. Friday, March 13th, 2020, to be exact. And as you recall, the whole world shut down. We went on lockdown. Indie Books was about to celebrate our 7th anniversary, and we got the gift from the governor of California that we had to leave our offices and we could not operate out of our offices. And that went on for many months. So we had to move the operation into our house. What was really scary for us, though, was we had built the business up by doing 2 showcases a month, a speech, and we had gone around doing marketing with a book summits around the country and had built the business up. And now we couldn't speak to a live audience. In fact, I've only spoken to 1 live audience in those 2 years. But that isn't to say I didn't keep speaking. But I wondered what to speak about. And I got the idea that what were the top rainmakers doing? What were they doing to make it rain? The $100 bills coming in for the consulting projects. I knew our authors were really interested in the money primarily. They wanted more credibility. They wanted more impact, more influence. More clients would be nice, but that would be a byproduct of having that. Well, we wanted the same. So we went out and I enlisted Mark and I enlisted Scott Love to talk to top professionals, top rainmakers, consulting firms, professional service firms about now with the new rules of the pandemic, what were they going to do? One, what were they going to spend less money on? Two, what were they going to spend more money on? Where were they going to invest their time, their talent, their treasure, their dollars? What was their go-to strategy going to be? And what was working, what wasn't working? We did interviews with more than 100 top rainmakers for over a year, and then compiled the information. We started to share it in Zoominars, so we still did our showcases. We started we started to share it on podcasts, so we became guests on many podcasts. Scott Love started the Rainmaker podcast. Mark and I would be guests and share what we were finding in the research, and all this information was coming together. We were really inspired by that Tony Robbins quote that success leaves clues. Go figure out what someone who was successful did and model it. So we called this R&D, rob and duplicate. We're sharing the rob and duplicate secrets. And it wasn't industrial espionage. We didn't have to go with a big trench coat on and find these things out. No, we asked for interviews and they willingly gave the information and the details to help others. So that's about being an abundance mentality. And that came out that the people who were doing the best had an abundance, not a scarcity mentality. We shared the insider information in my Forbes.com column. I do 5 columns a month for Forbes.com on business development. We shared it there, and then we came out with the book. We're launching it, Rainmaker Confidential, How Top Professionals Make Smart Business Development Investments of Time, Treasure, and Talent. So this book has a number of secrets that people shared, and I'm going to give you 3 as my portion today. I want to give you 3 investments you can make to make it rain. Here's the first way to make it rain. And if I could give you one strategy, only one strategy, it would be this one. The Trojan horse strategy. Now, I've been studying this strategy for years, but it was an interview with Stephen Wozner of the Onward Nation podcast where he nicknamed the strategy the Trojan horse strategy. And I thought it was brilliant. So here's how you do the Trojan horse strategy. Now, if you remember your reading of Greek literature and the story of the Trojan horse, it goes something like this. The nation of Troy steals the Greek queen, Helen, and has her kidnapped in Troy. The king of Greece sends the army via ships. They invade Troy, but they can't bust into the city. So then they pack up and they all get on their boats and they leave. And they leave a giant wooden horse. And the leaders of Troy came out to investigate the horse. And it said it was a gift to the Trojan gods. So what do? Obviously, they weren't raised by the parents I was raised on. I was taught to be skeptical and a little cynical, nice, but a little cynical. You know, just because somebody says something doesn't make it so. But these people were a little more trusting. They wheel the horse into the city, and at night, sure enough, Greek soldiers hidden inside the horse come out, open the city gates. Meanwhile, the Greek Navy had done a fake play where they did a U-turn and brought the troops back. They take Troy. Okay. So what does that have to do with business development? It's the idea of building relationships through gifts. Now, beware of Greeks bearing gifts, but use the strategy of giving gifts to the prospects you want to have relationships with. So one person in our study was Bob Scher. Bob Scher runs the one-page business company. He was advising medium-sized businesses, say the 300 to 1,000, 3 million to 300 million to $1 billion, that range. So how do you make relationships? Well, I grew up on a horse ranch. And speaking of the Trojan horse and horses, let me tell you how you give a carrot to a horse. You don't chase after the horses saying, you want a carrot, you want a carrot, you want a carrot. Sure, there are some abundance mentality horses that might take the carrot from you, but horses are a little more scarcity mentality. You got to hold the carrot in your hand and let them come up to it and get the carrot. It's the same thing when you want to reach an audience like CEOs of 300 million plus companies. Here's the challenge. They're getting bombarded. They're getting hit all the time with consultants who want to talk to them, professionals who want to talk to them, salespeople who want to sell them something. So they naturally have the defenses up. What Bob did was figure out what are the biggest challenges they faced. That was some easy research. And then he interviewed how these smart CEOs were attacking those challenges. He offered to interview them with this agreement. You'll get the first look at the research, and we won't tell anyone what you said. We aggregate the data. So we're not going to tell you what one of your competitors said, just like we're not going to tell your competitors what you said, but you will see what they're spending more money on, what they're spending less money on, what's a go-to strategy, very trend data. I've used this strategy over and over again with our authors in the research for their books, and it makes them very attractive, very appealing. I just never knew to nickname it the Trojan horse strategy, but that came out in the research for this book. So the year is 2005. The place is Carlsbad, California. And Bob, the head of a outsourced technology R&D firm, is giving me a tour. It's a 2-story building. They've got 40 engineers working there. He shows me some things in the back room that I got the first peek at that came out years later, and we would all know these things now. One was that machine that you can go and get 100 different flavors of a soda. They have them at Jack in the Box and other places where you just push some buttons. Not a choice of 8 sodas, a choice of 100. That was Bob's group. The reason you don't have tags in your underwear anymore, the information is just printed on the label. That was Bob's group. They invented these things. Their client list was IBM, Hewlett Packard, Kodak, just top drawer. So after he gave me the tour, I said, Bob, this is all great. Why am I here? And he said, Xerox. We can't crack the Xerox account. The chief technology officer of Xerox won't meet with us. And I said, I've got the strategy. He goes, what is it? I said, well, first we're going to do a proprietary research study of the biggest mistakes technology companies make when they outsource R&D engineering. He goes, sounds expensive. I said, it's free. We're just going to analyze your last client engagements over the last 5 years. There were 40 of them. I did a matrix on the whiteboard, and I wrote down the 24 mistakes that we brainstormed, and then I wrote down the 40 clients. And I said, Bob, what you need to do is make a check mark by the mistakes that each client made. And then we're going to total them up, and we'll see which are the top 10 mistakes they made. Did I mention Bob was an engineer? That was too simple for him. He needed 30 days to complete this assignment because he wanted to do algorithms and if-then scenarios. And okay, so we did some Boolean algebra. Okay, we got it. In 30 days, we had our top 10 list. And he said, what do we do with it now? I said, we put on a small scale seminar. He goes, where do we do that? I said, at the Holiday Inn in Rochester, New York, across the street from Xerox headquarters. He said, we can do that? I said, yeah, we can do that. It's $250 to rent the room. He goes, well, it sounds so negative. And I said, yes, excellent. Because in our research, we have found that solving a problem is 19 times more attractive than telling people how they could gain. We've got time for pain. We don't have a lot of time to pursue gain. I like to say you can remember this by you'll make more money selling Vicodin than vitamins. So we did the pain headline. Sure enough, the event sells out. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, $49, includes beer and wine. And they get a briefing of a proprietary research study of 40 technology companies, including IBM, Hewlett Packard, and Kodak. Bob was afraid that they weren't gonna come, or he was gonna be seen as a poser. They came, they stopped him in the middle of the presentation, and he thought, uh-oh. And they said, this is fascinating, Bob. The next time you do it, could you add these weighting factors? Oh, weighting factors, engineers talking to engineers about algorithms. It was great. At the end of the event, the chief technology officer of Xerox, the person that they hadn't been able to get an appointment with in 5 years, came up to Bob and said, Bob, I have a bone to pick with you. And Bob said, what is it? He goes, you're talking to Kodak, you're talking to Hewlett Packard, you're talking to IBM. Why haven't you come talk to me? Well, Bob was at a crossroads. You might be at a crossroads. Bob had a choice. Bob could feed his ego, or he could feed his children. Feeding his ego sounded like, we've been trying to get an appointment with you for 5 years. Feeding his children was, my bad, when would you like to meet? And that's how Bob used the Trojan horse strategy to get the Xerox account. Wozner taught me that it doesn't have to be a book. I mentioned Bob and his book. Bob interviewed 100 CEOs, and several of them hired him during the book writing process to help them with big projects. So he was getting 5- and 6-figure contracts just as a result of doing the research and talking about his upcoming book. More followed when the book was published. We like to say the book is the starting line, not the finish line. It's what you do with that information. So you need to put on speaking events. You need to get other people to write about you. You need to send copies of the book to people who could influence others about you and your work. So you want to make it rain? Use the Trojan horse strategy. Here's a second way to make it rain. And if I could give you one technique to know how to be more persuasive, it would be this. Human beings are hardwired for stories. If you notice, I'm telling stories. When Mark is up, he'll be telling stories. Research from the world of neuroscience proves that people make decisions not based on logic, but based on emotion. So how do you reach the emotional part of the brain? You become a storyteller. And not like an old grandpa just telling stories to tell stories. Well, we were taking the hogs up to Cumminsville and they have the best blueberry pie there. You know, your Aunt Marge sure made a good apple pie. Oh, Marge married a drunk. He'd get drunk every Saturday night at the Moose Lodge. Like, where's this story going? If you're a relative of me, you'll recognize that story. But where's the story going? What's the point? You need to tell stories for a reason. And the reason is to demonstrate in 2 minutes or less, you know how to take people from problem to solution, from mess to success. The year was 2015, the place, downtown Los Angeles, in one of those beautiful high rises. I'm in one of the top floors. I've just put on my Persuade with a Story workshop, and the managing partner, the host for the event, brought me back afterwards into his inner office. And well, let's call him Bernie the attorney. So Bernie the attorney brings me back into his inner office, and it's filled with movie posters and memorabilia. And I found out that his grandfather was a famous producer in the 20s and 30s in Hollywood, and his father became a famous producer in the 40s and 50s, and he became an entertainment lawyer. But he said, Henry, you solved a mystery for me today, because Grandpa used to say, you know, we only make 8 movies in Hollywood. And I never understood what he meant until your workshop today. because in my workshop, I showed that there are 8 great stories that human brains are hardwired for. They're the overcoming the monster story. They're the Cinderella rags to riches story, the comedy solution, the tragedy solution, the mystery, the quest, the rebirth, redemption, comeback story, and the escape story, where you're in crazy town and you get out of crazy town. That's it. So when you learn how to tell those stories, and it's as simple as 1, 2, 3 characters, a hero, a nemesis, and a mentor. And you're the mentor character in your stories, because people like your prospects listened to you and followed your advice. They succeeded. And you tell these stories and it opens many doors. You can make it rain by telling the right stories. Third way to make it rain. And if I could give you one lead conversion tactic from the study, it would be this. Have a menu. Have a menu. So I can tell you what the clients who hire people like you told us in the research. And we did interviews with over 1,000. We did focus groups, and they said, oh, there's one thing that these consultants and professionals are horrible at: talking about money. So in one focus group, I followed up and I said, tell me what you mean talking about money. He said, oh, they're horrible. They can't talk about money. I said, well, what is this like for you? And he goes, oh, I'll tell you what it's like. It's like going to a restaurant and they don't have a menu. And they'll say things like, well, what were you thinking of having? And I might say, I don't know, chicken. And they'll say, oh, there's a lot that goes into chicken. Do you mind if I ask you a few chicken questions? What's been your experience with chicken before? Do you have a chicken budget? If I could solve all your chicken challenges, what would that look like? He said, it's so frustrating. You know, there's a lot that goes into chicken. Don't frustrate people by not giving them a menu. Before I learned this, I responded to 20 RFPs one year and landed 14. So my batting average, 14 out of 20, not bad. The next year, I responded to 3 RFPs and I landed 27 clients. That's better, right? Yeah, because I have a menu that I prepared, which gave 3 options. So when I met with people, I could give them a menu. And let me tell you, a menu is a great thing to have. Because have you ever had scope creep? You know, where people hire you and they go, oh, could you add this in? Could you add that in? Well, if you gave them a platinum, gold, and silver option, and they chose gold, but they want you to put more things in, you get to say to them, oh, you want to upgrade to platinum. They might say, oh, no, I didn't want to upgrade to platinum. I just wanted you to throw those in. That's when you do you get stupid. You go, you want me to throw them in? You want to pay for gold, but get platinum? Some will back off, but also what you say is, oh, well, yeah, we can do those things, and there's a cost associated with it. Let's have a discussion. Like a fine Italian restaurant, sometimes we go off the menu. Let's just have a conversation about it. So that is important in your credibility with the prospect. We found in our research, you gain the greatest amount of credibility by the quality of questions you ask during that first meaningful conversation. And you continue to build credibility by being able to tell stories that show you know how to get them from where they are right now to where they want to go. You don't say, like some professional service firms said in our study, trust us. If you want somebody not to trust you, go ahead and say, trust us. You'll get that reaction. So make it rain by having a menu of options. let me leave you with this question. Have you ever talked to a prospect and failed to make it rain? Have you ever talked to a prospect and you failed to persuade them to hire you? This happened to a mentor of mine, also somebody whose work we included in the study. My mentor had spoken with a prospect. She decided not to hire him. They met 7 years later at a friend's party, and she relayed how things had not gone well for 7 years because she did not follow his advice. Now, whose fault was this? My mentor would say it was his fault. If an arrow does not hit a target, it's never the target's fault. So if we don't become more persuasive, if we don't become better at making it rain, think of those people who are going to suffer as a result. So we can always work on getting better. We need to get it better to make it rain. Follow the clues, make the investments, and you too will make it rain. Well, now I'd like to turn the talking stick over to my co-author and business partner, as he said, brother from another mother, Mark LeBlanc. Mark has taught me some things that just revolutionized what I was doing. When I used to be president of a large advertising and PR agency, I marvel at what I could have accomplished if I had tools from Mark, like the numbers tool. I think Mark should get the Nobel Prize in marketing for inventing the numbers tool. It's a way to make this a game worth playing and track your score. And we use it every day. Also, if you haven't been to one of his achiever circles, I hope he talks about that. These are business development retreats. I met Mark because of these retreats. I was writing on business development, and I had a weekly column with a newspaper, a business newspaper, and I was fascinated with his extraordinary guarantee that you could attend these achievers retreats. And instead of this really expensive, demanding boot camp approach, his was just this, pay what you think it's worth and what you can afford to pay right now. And he was so successful at that. And I now know he's now done over 150. We've got one coming up very soon. I've attended 25, and I always get something new out of it. The third thing, and maybe he'll talk about something, his little 500-mile walk through Spain he takes on a regular basis. I believe he's done 3 now, and he's got the 4th coming up. This is the Camino, the pilgrimage through Spain, the Camino de Santiago. If you've never heard Mark talk about the Camino, then you're just not listening, because he'll do it for birthday parties, weddings, bar mitzvahs, wherever 2 or more are gathered, he'll talk about the Camino. Maybe he'll share some of that today. Mark, the stage is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Henry. And before we get started, I just want to suggest to you that I hope that you're not only have your listening ears on, and you're taking good notes, hopefully on some good ideas that will be helpful to you, but that we are also modeling many of the things in the book, Rainmaker Confidential, and modeling things that you can do in your in your business. So listen to the information carefully, but also put your observer's cap on. I want you to wear 2 caps today, and notice what you like, notice what feels good, and do a little R&D of your own. I would suggest to you that the second most difficult question for people to answer is, what do you want? If that's the second most difficult question, what would be the first? After clocking over 20,000 one-on-one coaching hours over the last 29 years, I have come to the conclusion that the most difficult question for independent professionals to answer is, what are you willing to do in order to get what you want? What are you willing to do in order to get what you want? I'm one of the lucky ones I'm fortunate to have discovered at a very early age what I wanted in my career. In fact, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was December 3rd, 1982. I was all of 21 years old, looking to find my way in the world. And I was invited to attend a meeting of the Minnesota chapter of the National Speakers Association. And I walked into this room on December 3rd of 1982 to a room of about 20 or so professional speakers. And it was as if a switch went off in my head and my heart and my gut. And I thought, that's it. This is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I went home for Christmas a couple of weeks later, and I told my dad, I said, I now know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And he said, well, what's that? And I said, I want to be a professional speaker. And he looked at me and he said, can you make any money doing that? And I said, I don't know, but I met this group called the National Speakers Association, and they're all rich. Now, little did I know at 21 of what I know today. Of course, they were not all rich, but where could a young guy put his toe into a profession and over the last now 39 years have the opportunity to hopefully have had the kind of impact and influence that I have dreamed of having over the course of my career. It has not always been easy. I have experienced the good, the bad, the ugly, and the great. In fact, I think I quit over 1,000 times. Fortunately, I recommitted myself 1,001. And if I had not recommitted myself 1,001 times, I would not be doing the good work that I feel called and compelled to do. I would not have conducted over 1,000 presentations, worked with over 1,000 business coaching clients. And as Henry shared about my Achiever Circle weekend retreat, some of you have been on that retreat, some of you more than once. This coming weekend, I will do Achiever Circle number 158. It is the most fun that I have in my business. It might be the most intense, but we've carved out a rather unique format. And if that is of any interest to you, I would invite you to get the dates and the details. We do 5 a year. I'm going to come back to that also as a working example. I would not have authored or co-authored 6 books. In fact, my first book is a small paperback book titled Growing Your Business. I have moved over 80,000 copies of this book, and earlier I shared with you that I'm the poster child for what can happen when you write the right book. Now, this is 77 pages, about 7,000 words. I know for a fact that you have 7,000 words in you right now. In fact, we call it WIZZY, W period, I period, S period, S period, I period, WIZZY. Wisdom, insights, strategies, stories, and ideas. I knew very little 21 years ago of what I know today in the delivery of my work. Interesting, I realized just recently that I am celebrating the 25th year of the strategic decision that possibly was the biggest strategic decision of my entire career. You already know that my dream was to be a professional speaker, but like so many, I thought the larger my menu was, according to Henry, having a menu, that the larger my menu was, the more topics I spoke on, the different types of groups that I could stand in front of, that would open up more opportunities. It did not. 25 years ago, I made the strategic decision to throw away my multiple topics and choose one. For 25 years, I have positioned myself under the topic of business development to the exclusion of everything else. And I developed a 3-word outcome. And that outcome is growing your business. For 25 years, I have positioned myself as the growing your business guy. Who are you? Are you out there trying to speak, train, facilitate, consult, coach on a wide variety of problems and solutions and results and outcomes? Or are you like a laser? I would suggest to you that focus is not everything. Today, more than ever before, extreme focus is everything. And the more focused you are, the easier everything becomes. And you tend to get what you focus on. If you're focused on multiple topics, solving multiple problems, your opportunities will be diluted. But as you become known for something in particular, all of your marketing decisions become that much easier. Now, I like to live in a world of 2 or more right answers. It is not my way or the highway, but I would suggest to you that our challenge, yours, mine, Henry's, is cracking the code, is unlocking a combination that will help you become as successful as you are capable of becoming and doing more of the good work that you feel called and compelled to do at whatever point you are along the way. In Rainmaker Confidential, I talk about the power of a statement. In fact, I coined it a defining statement. And a defining statement is a simple answer to a simple question. What do you do? What do you do? And I'm going to condense the story very, very shortly. But one day when nothing was working for me, my calendar was light, my confidence was low, I really had no prospects to speak of. I had a strategic planning meeting with myself, and it went something like this: what do you do? And a voice went off inside my head, look, stupid, you're not doing anything. Nobody wants to work with you. Nobody wants to hire you to speak. You're not doing anything. And fortunately for me, another voice went off inside my head, and that voice simply said, maybe, but what do you want to do? And I started to write, and I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote. And what came out of that little brainstorming session was, I want, there's that word want again. I want to work with people who want to start their own business. And I want to work with small business owners who want to grow their business. And I looked at that and I thought, well, that's what I want to do. Now, how can I say that? And a voice went off inside my head. Look, stupid, nothing else has worked. Why don't you just go say that? I went to a networking meeting about a week later, and I got my minute to stand up and introduce myself. I had been going to this networking meeting once a month for about 10 months, repelling people with all of the different ways that I could be helpful. And this particular morning, I stand up, not a lot of enthusiasm, and I just said, my name is Mark LeBlanc. I run a company called Small Business Success, and I work with people who want to start a business and small business owners who want to grow their business. Period, end, shut up and sat down. True story. 25 people in that room, 7 of them came up to me. Can I get your card? I want to start a business. Or another person said, I've been in business for myself. I'm struggling a little bit. Another person said, Mark, I've been in business for a while. I'm really doing pretty well, but I'm kind of stuck. And I need somebody to help me sort out some of my challenges and just look at what I'm doing. And I thought if it would work here, it might just work again. I went to another networking meeting, about 12 people, stood up, a little more enthusiasm. My name is Mark. I work with people who want to start a business and small business owners who want to grow their business. Period, end, shut up and sat down. True story. 4 people came up to me. Can I get your card? I want to know more about what you do. Within 30 days, 7 prospects wrote a check and engaged me in the process of helping them start or grow their business. Eventually, I would coin that a defining statement. One sentence, a one-sentence response to what do you do? Do you have that statement in your back pocket? Because quite frankly, it might be your greatest marketing tool in your toolbox. A few years later, I would choose growing your business as my primary outcome and starting a business as my secondary outcome. But listen to the nuances of these decisions and how it increased and can increase your degree of focus. I want you in your notes to draw a triangle. I just want to introduce you to a concept and a word picture that I developed called your positioning triangle. Just draw a triangle, and at the top of the triangle, just write the words growing your business. That is my singular outcome focus that I'm driving in the marketplace. At the bottom of the triangle on each corner are the 2 specific problems that I solve. Problem that I help people with day in and day out is a lack of focus. The second problem is a lack of money. And only it's a specific lack of money. Not necessarily revenues, although I certainly help with that. It's a lack of owner's compensation. A lack of owner's compensation. You see, independent and practice professionals are notorious for either taking too much too soon out of their business or too little for too long. And the strategies and the practices and the tips and the concepts that I work with day in, day out, that I eat, sleep, drink, and breathe. You could say it's part of my purpose. You could say it's what I'm passionate about, is helping people develop extreme focus and to help them create a model for their business that, one, they're excited about, And secondly, that will help them earn a consistent, sustainable, and predictable compensation as a business owner. It's one thing to be successful in chunks. It's another thing to create that foundation where you earn every 30 days. In fact, I believe that is the secret to your success. The secret to your success lies in the phrase every 30 days. And it wasn't until I got extremely focused, it wasn't until I began to pay myself on a monthly basis. And every once in a while, when I hit a little bit of a cash flow crunch, I'm tempted to maybe skip my payroll. I hearken back to the olden days where I took money when I needed it. One of the saddest moments for me is when I ask a professional, or I'm interviewing a potential coaching client, and only when it is appropriate, I will say, "May I ask you a question?" And he or she will say yes. "You've been in business for a while. Can I ask you, how do you take money out of your business for yourself?" And more often than I care to share, people will respond, "Well, Mark, it's pretty easy. When I have some, I take some. When I don't have any, I don't take any." And they sink their teeth into that response like a pit bull, as somehow it's a badge of honor in their business. Let me suggest to you that there will always be one more trip to take and one more investment to make in the growing of your business. And so the charge is, how do you create the forms, the practices, the framework for you to find that blend between investing in the growth of your business and making sure that you are also getting a consistent, sustainable, and predictable income out of your business? My hope for you is that you can develop that positioning triangle for you. Switching gears, we all define our potential in a different way. I don't know what your potential is, but I know where it is. I know where your potential is. And I just want to briefly introduce you to what I call the 6 sectors of potential. 6 sectors of potential. Some of these are more applicable to others than others, depending upon where you are at on your journey or where you are at on your path. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have a chance to talk about my short 500-mile walks across Spain. I've done it 3 times and we'll do it for the 4th time in 2023. But wherever you are at on your journey, latch on and sink your teeth into these 6 sectors of potential. Sector number 1 is your newbies. People you don't know today, your new prospects, new opportunities with new prospects, or your newbies. Sector 2, your friendlies. These are new business opportunities with people that are already in your network. They may be on your database. They may be in your LinkedIn connections. They may be Facebook friends or Twitter followers, but there is a degree of knowingness with people in your network, some better than others, but your greatest potential lies with your friendlies in Sector 2. Sector 3 is your favorites. Sector 3 is looking in the rearview mirror and looking at your past clients. Who are your favorite past clients? We all know that not everybody is enthralled with us as much as some. But in sector 3, you want to go mining for gold. Make a list of your favorite past clients, the clients that you would be giddy to hear from because they have a new need or a new challenge or a new obstacle that they need your help with. If there was a voicemail message from one of your sector 3 favorites, you'd almost be giddy. I can't wait for the opportunity to work with this organization or support this team or look at this consulting opportunity or this coaching engagement. Who are your sector 3 past client favorites? Your sector 4 are your besties. These are your active clients. I have 50 active coaching clients. I'm committed to every single one of them. But who are your active clients that you've been serving in the last 12 months that are your besties? And make sure that they never, ever feel taken for granted. I want to go the extra mile for all 50 of my active clients, but I want to make sure and I want to strengthen and cement and protect my besties at all costs. Sector 5 are your cheerleaders. Sector 5 is a special segment of your database called your advocates. Who are your cheerleaders out in the marketplace? Who's referring you to new opportunities? And sector 6 are your partners. These are your affiliates, your partners. In the speaking world, it might be a speaker's agent or a booking agent. But where do you have maybe 1 or 2, maybe a handful of partner type, collaborative type relationships in the workplace? So you've got your newbies, you've got your friendlies, you've got your favorites, you've got your besties, your cheerleaders, and you've got your partners. And now when you think about your CRM or your database, begin to tag or segment your database by these 6 sectors of potential. Long gone is the idea of just creating a database and sending an electronic newsletter to the whole shooting match, hoping that a single message is going to land across all of those sectors. I want you to imagine, what could you do from a marketing perspective? What could you do from a rainmaking perspective when you can identify, tag, and serve these 6 different sectors of your database world in a more focused and stealth-like way? Now, let the creativity flow and look for creative ways to be of better service. I'm driven by a single question every single day, and that is, what will meet the best of what this sector needs and wants? What will meet the best of what this sector needs and wants? And I let that guide some of the creative brainstorming sessions and the strategic decisions that have helped me and supported me along the way. And one last tip: if you are not embracing virtual and video and Zoom, get with the program. It's not going away. And it is opening up doors and opportunities for us to be of better service. It opened up the door for us to be with you today. if you want to speak more, if you want to train more, if you want to consult more, if you want to coach more, write the right book and look for creative ways to be of amazing service. And on the Camino, we have the mantra. You hear it 1,000 times. If you hear it once, it's the cry of the Camino, and it simply is Buen Camino, and it means good way or have a good day. I wish for you that you will do more of the good work that you are called and compelled to do. Buen Camino.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for sharing that. We have one more game changer tip to leave you with. And this is something we found in our study. We offer you a no selling zone, no cost strategy call. If you want to talk to Mark about the Achievers Circle or growing your business, he calls them a coffee talk. I put his email in the chat. If you want to talk about books, strategy for preparing a book, publishing a book, or maybe you've got a book and you want to get more credibility, more impact, more influence, have a book chat with me and just send an email. The only catch is we only have so many opportunities a month, so you might have to apply and wait some time to get in there. So the sooner you ask, the sooner we'll talk to you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being with us today. And we wish you a very good journey as you're out to make it rain. Thanks, everybody.